Let's talk about love and marriage the way that God intended. Life experience, here we share it. The No Fruit Podcast. Tune in from any platform. No Fruit Podcast. Will help your spirit transform.
Hey, everybody. What's going on? So, we thank y'all for tuning in to our last episode. I hope you are enjoying yourselves. And, we like to take you on a journey, with us. As we're going through life, right? We're going together. Whether we're in a car together, in a truck together, whatever it is. But we enjoy you traveling with us, right? But what I'm getting at is, have you ever picked up a hitchhiker? Have you ever picked up a hitchhiker? So here's the reason why I'm asking. So, the other day, for myself, I was going down the blue route, and someone was just walking literally down. Oh, okay. I'm sorry. For those of you who don't know what the blue route is, it is Interstate 476. And so so this individual was walking down the blue route. I'm on my way home. It's dark outside, and I'm about to get off at my exit. But I see them walking, and they literally had a bag over their shoulder with their thumb out. And I was looking at the traffic behind me, and I was wondering or picturing me picking this individual up. So I'm going to be honest with you. I kept going because I was scared. Because I've seen way too many movies or whatever else where you pick up a hitchhiker and you die. Long story short.
Oh, goodness.
And I didn't want to be in that predicament.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good thought. Didn't want you to die either.
Right. So, yeah, I don't know what to
But what would Jesus do? Right. I mean, I agree with you. Nowadays it's just, so many things. I mean, people who supposed to pick up folks, Uber and Lyft drivers and taxi drivers, like they're supposed to pick up people.
Right.
And they're, getting robbed and getting killed, murdered, things like that. So picking up someone that's on an interstate, did you even see a car broken down or anything like that? So
I didn't remember.
Okay.
You get what I mean?
Right, right.
So because I saw the individual, and mind you, because of traffic, we weren't going that fast.
Right.
So if we was going faster, I definitely would not have thought about it.
Mm-hmm.
But because it was traffic and a lot of people were getting off at the exit,
yes.
I was getting off on because it looked like where the blue route was, it was 95 going to the blue route.
Mm-hmm.
And the entrance going onto the blue route itself from 95, it looked like it was jam-packed. So people were hopping off
right away.
Where we were getting off, where I was getting off at. So my thought was like, all right, well, it's a lot of traffic. I'll take my time, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I just saw the person walking with a book bag on with their thumb out, literally. I had no clue where they were going.
Right.
Right? But I like yourself thought of, well, did I see a car?
Right.
Did I? Or where would I have seen a car at for where I was? So for those of you who knows, when you're coming up from Delaware and you're passing Chester and you get on the blue route, you're on the blue route exit, right?
Yes.
And you're coming off at McDade. I get off at McDade. So he was walking off like he was coming off going to the McDade exit.
Oh, okay.
So that's what made me think of, hey, I'm going to, could I pick him up or whatever else?
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, I didn't want to die.
So the picture you painted for us of this
Right.
gentleman is a guy, right?
Yes.
It was a guy with a backpack
Yes.
and his thumb out. So
Yes.
back in the 80s, HBO used to have a TV show called The Hitchhiker. And that's,
Yes.
and,
Yes.
I mean, I know you can't see the picture, but that's exactly what I saw. Was
That's funny.
If everybody
That's
like
funny.
looks it up and Googles The Hitchhiker, it was on HBO, I think like the early 80s, 83 or 85, somewhere around there. And I'm looking at it, it seemed like it had like 6 seasons or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I do remember like watching 1 or 2 episodes,
Okay.
back in the day, but I wasn't like a huge fan of it or whatever. But yeah, when you said that, I just automatically thought about that show. And this guy would just hitchhike from town to town and he would solve mysteries, or it was a sci-fi type flick or
Right,
whatever.
right.
So, however that was. But yeah, I'm like you. I don't think at this point right now I would certainly do what would Jesus do, or what if that's Jesus, you know what I mean, testing me or whatever. I would give it some thought, not so much if it was a man, but like if it was a woman, then I'm like, hey, like whatever. But then I'm like, all right, women are angry and vicious, like, I might look like somebody she knows, and
Right.
she want to hurt me or whatever.
Right.
With the carjackings and things like that going on as well, like I just probably would not.
Right.
At this point, but Maurice, now you and I have talked before
Right.
about hitchhiking in period.
In general, yes.
In general. And living with my mother, single parent, trying to make ends meet, yes, kids at one time got on public transportation for free. And then I think they had to pay half price or something like that.
Yeah,
and
I remember that. Mm-hmm.
And then after you get taller, then you had to pay full price.
You ain't got to tell me. I know
So,
that's right.
there were certain trains and things like that. My mom would say, go ahead, run underneath the turnstile, So then I would scoot down underneath the turnstile. I think it got a little too big and, couldn't really scoot under the turnstile anymore. So,
Right.
And of course, when you get on a bus, depending on where we lived, we didn't have a turnstile right away. We had to catch a bus to get to a train. So it was always an issue of paying for me and paying for herself. So there were many times that I can recall standing on the street with our thumbs out.
Mm.
She and I together, on Broad Street, I remember vividly Broad Street.
Wow.
And I don't know where we're going. It was dark, but here we go, walking down Broad Street, whatever. And people would pick us up and we'd get in the back seat and get to wherever we had to get to as far as we could. And then you might hitchhike again.
Right.
So I do recall that vividly. And, and I know you were like, what? You did what? Your mom did what? Like, I would, no, never. I don't recall, like, I guess another word for hitchhiking back in those days was the hack man.
I mean, so hitchhiking, I take it as if you're not really paying, I guess.
Correct.
Whereas the hack man,
it's a
$5-10.
Right. It's a cheap taxi. It was before Uber and Lyft.
Right. So I guess I look at it differently, but I can't remember. I cannot remember whether or not we had that if I ever had that experience of hitchhiking. With you saying that about you and your mom, I'm like, wow, how could two women, be in that space, if you will? You get what I mean? I understand what you're talking about as far as finances and all that type of stuff and that jazz, whatever. But it's just like what type of space were you in order to hitchhike?
I mean, again, I think that was, acceptable. Again,
like you said,
I'm talking. Yeah, I'm talking. It was so acceptable it became a TV show.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think there were movies about it. There were other things
Right.
It was a thing. And we were staying local. We weren't trying to hitchhike from one state to another. Like we weren't escaping anything or.
Right.
But that was just a mode of transportation here and there.
I mean, so I guess the question is, what do you do when someone is looking to get gas? like you said about that one individual that I saw on the road, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I didn't see a car.
Right.
That doesn't mean that his car wasn't further down the road,
Exactly.
right? You know, so is that considered hitchhiking or what?
I mean, and nowadays I think because of cell phones and whatever else, like I think for most people who break down, they're going to stay at their vehicle and they're going to call somebody and say, hey, can you bring me gas? I mean, I've been there with my cousin. She broke down on the Blue Route. That's like our main road right now. And she was between mile marker, this and mile marker that. And I got to her and she couldn't figure out what was wrong. I think I called you and we listened to the car and tried to get it started. She thought something was wrong. Couldn't get it started. Tried this, tried that. Still couldn't get it. So then you were like, well, maybe it's gas. And she was like, no, I don't think it's that because whatever. But went to the gas station, got some gas, came back around, put it in, and lo and behold, car was fine.
Right.
But she had an issue with her gas gauge, so she had to calculate how many miles she did so that she knew to get more gas. So,
Right.
But again, she stayed in her car and she called, a relative that was close by until I could get there and that type of a thing. So I don't know too many people, I guess, that would leave their car and then hitchhike. Now, again, like you said, if you leave your car and then you're like, hey, I know it's a gas station up here, so let me just get up here, buy a tank, because you may not have I don't have a extra gas tank in my car in case I run out of gas.
Here's what I would like to say about that. I think as you're stating about people in their cell phones, if you have AAA,
right,
your car insurance sometimes can offer that type of thing.
Roadside assistance.
Whatever it is, sometimes you have, even your cell phone provider can offer something like that too. So I think it's a little more rarely available.
Right.
Being, like you said, some type of roadside assistance. Whereas back then, I'm not 100% sure because the time that you're talking about, of doing that, you're talking about 70s and 80s. So I don't know what was available then.
Right.
So I wasn't driving, and I never asked, hey, roadside assistance, was it available then? Whatever, like, in a little kid voice,
right?
So because
if you're out there walking and you get in a car, you're not like, well, whose car is this? Now, I did ask my mom a few times because in school they taught you, don't talk to strangers. My mom would talk to people, and I'm like, Mom, did you know that person? After we left the, person's presence. And she's like, no. I said, but I learned in school you're not supposed to talk to strangers. Why did you talk to them?
Really, Kafa?
I did.
You was a snitch.
I was.
But I understand that.
What I mean? Same thing with cigarettes. Mom, why are you smoking? They're not supposed to be good for you. So school, taught us a whole lot of things. And started a lot of conversations along with after school specials and things like that. But
this is your brain on drugs.
I don't want to eat another egg.
I know, right?
And they had to come up with the incredible edible egg because everybody was not eating eggs because they thought it was their brain.
Right.
Okay.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. They tortured us as children.
We were confused. That's why some of us at this age feel like we're better than everybody else.
Better than everybody else.
Because we drugs, eating food, just everything that they had given us.
Yeah.
How many licks does it take?
Oh, goodness. The world may never know.
I know, right? We had the best time.
We did.
Between food, cartoons, because our parents didn't have the same type of cartoons that we had. Like, we're in the best generation.
We are. I tell people that all the time. I think anybody who consciously lived through the 80s are the best people. We had so much going on in that particular time.
Yeah, so much diversity.
Very much so. So we had me hitchhiking on the street,
we had a whole lot of colors.
Lots of colors.
And styles and, Yeah, it was
But
a
it was
lot.
trendy styles. Like I think right now there's a lot of styles, but it's not like, oh, that's in style, that's in fashion. You like you can just wear whatever and nobody says anything. Like
Well,
back then, like you couldn't wear whatever.
well, I think you could.
There was no. It was like everybody was kind of wearing a certain trend at a certain time. Like you weren't wearing
I mean, all right. So skinny jeans, right?
right
They were,
the late '80s,
okay, but they just came back out, right?
right? But
You
the
know,
guys weren't wearing skinny jeans.
um,
The
it's
punk
hard to say.
rockers were, but you know,
I mean,
the
I
late
would
'80s
say
when rap was coming out, dudes wasn't wearing skinny jeans, were they?
I can't remember skinny jeans for guys.
Right. It was the girls.
I would say jeans that were tapered at the bottom,
They were straight legs.
you
Yeah,
know,
taper your Lee look.
or
know.
when we would take them and roll them up, type thing, right?
The roll 'em up was '90s, I think. '80s.
80s, 90s, yeah.
Okay.
You know, so I think we had those moments, right?
Right, but everybody was doing it. It wasn't like, well,
Right.
one person was wearing wide leg and another person was wearing skinnies and another person was wearing acid wash and another
So,
person
so
was
you're
wearing.
saying right now we're in that space.
I think we're getting out of it now. I think we're starting to get to some trends, and it's starting to be a certain look. Like, hey, this is the fashionable look, and this is on trend. Where I think when our kids were in high school, it was like whatever you want to wear.
Yeah, yeah. That's because everybody say, hey, I want to express myself.
Right,
You know.
but we expressed ourselves as well. But
We did.
we had a trend.
Yeah, I think that was a form of bullying, though.
What was?
That our trendy stuff. Because if you weren't trendy, right?
Right.
It could be a sense of bullying, if you will.
Right. I
quote
mean, you
unquote.
stood out. You maybe if you didn't have the certain haircut or the certain hairstyle,
Right.
or like you said, you didn't have the acid wash jeans. But then you tried to acid wash them yourself,
Yeah.
or at least bleach them.
I mean, I thought about it, never did it.
You didn't
Wanted to
bleach them
try it.
either.
No. Mm-mm.
Oh, okay.
No, my mom wasn't letting me do that. She didn't let me do a whole lot of stuff.
Okay. You didn't get a chance to hitchhike either.
Nope.
You probably did. You just don't know. You have to ask.
But see,
her.
so.
Like I said,
don't
what I was
remember
getting at was like if you were the little kid.
I don't remember hitchhiking, though. I remember hacks, though, all the time.
Mm-hmm.
I remember hacks. So was that a form of hitchhiking? Like you said, could have been.
Right, but after a while, you get to know that person. You're not just a total stranger.
No. We've had hacks that we didn't know.
Okay.
I remember being some back in some crazy behind cars. It's like, how you a hack?
What's the weirdest hackman car or you've been in? Like I can remember some. It's like it's like a certain class or a certain character person, gentleman becomes a hackman. So like
I would say someone that's, in my opinion,
mm-hmm.
55 or older.
Right.
Talking about their disability.
Okay.
Outside of the market.
Yes.
And talking some other crap.
Mm-hmm.
Smoking a cigarette.
What kind of car did they normally have?
The cars that I remember were the old 70s, early 80s banana boat, deuce and a halves, type vehicles.
Yeah.
Cars that, if it hit you, it knocked you 3 states away.
It's
you
like,
know,
why?
those
Like,
type of things.
like, I remember, like you said, these Cadillac type.
Oh, no,
Park,
we wasn't.
Park Ave, like.
Park Avenue, yes.
Type cars where the back seat was plush and like, what the heck?
Yo, but those cars, wait a second. So, and you talking about that. I remember this one guy, his car, I don't remember the outside of the car, but I remember the interior was red,
Mm-hmm.
right? And those seats were better than the couch in the house.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
my gosh.
That's what I remember. Like, what in the world?
Yo,
So it was just a hackman. Now, I can't say like, the hitchhikers, like, vehicles, it was whatever, a dime a dozen. Like, I don't remember that. But
right.
for some reason, hackmen, like, they souped their cars up or, like, that's how they got their car because
I don't know what
they
it was.
hacked. But it was always.
Now, our usual guy, I remember his car not being the greatest,
Mm-hmm.
But
I never got like in one that had torn up, pleather seats or nothing like that. Like, but
Not
you remember,
torn up, no.
you remember back in the day, like you would get in a cab and the back seat was torn up and they had
Yeah.
duct taped the seat back together, and
Right.
you all scared, like, what am I, going to cut myself and rip my panty? Well, you didn't
Right.
have pantyhose, but I was just scared I was going to rip my pantyhose on them. That type of thing. But like Hackman didn't have that issue.
No. They had, it was older
It
men.
was a boom chicka boom boom like type
you
atmosphere in the back seat,
know. Yeah.
and you didn't wear no seatbelt, and you just knew you was
No.
gonna get there safe.
Yeah, you didn't have to wear a seatbelt. Because somebody hit that car, they died. We were safe. That was a tank.
Mm-hmm.
It was quite a few of them. I remember. Yeah, those were some. I'm like, golly, like I remember this one car we sat in. Like you said, you sit in the back seat, and you look out the front window, and I was like, yo, the hood never ends.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you felt. Like that car is so this car is so long. I remember thinking that to myself.
Mm-hmm.
So now when I as I'm a driver now, I'm like, the hoods are not so long.
Right.
Cars feel shorter. They're probably the same length, based off of just sheer size.
Mm-hmm.
But
We still can fit in the same parking spots. Like if you went to your old block, you're like, all right, my car still can fit in the spot that
Right.
that big old, car used to fit in.
Right.
But also we were little, so I can remember my grandfather had, I don't know what kind of car it was. Yeah. But I remember not wearing seatbelts.
Mm-hmm.
And as my dad or my grandfather was driving, I would do flips from the front seat to the back seat.
Mm-hmm.
Just flipping over the seat, just from the front to the
Yes.
back, because everybody
Yes.
didn't have headrests back then.
Yes.
It was just different. Like, yeah. And
I mean, no, I agree. I mean, yeah, I can sit here and attest to flipping over the seats.
Mm-hmm.
Not me 100% because I was always bigger than Michael and Howard, but I remember them doing that crap.
right.
And I'm all jealous because me and my fat butt can't do it. So yeah, I mean, I don't know
Yeah.
what to say about that.
Right.
But, it's really interesting.
Right.
That's the best way I could put it.
Yeah, so sum it all up, I wouldn't pick up a hitchhiker right now. Sorry. I just don't think I would do it. But I have
Right.
been a hitchhiker.
Yeah, I can't remember hitchhiking, and I'm not going to sit here and say we haven't done it.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say that at all. But at that time when you had mentioned to me, I'm like,
Oh, yeah, he thought I was like, yeah. Me and my mom was like, y'all was hitchhikers? Oh, my goodness. I just can't imagine. Just so bad.
here's the reality. When I look back over my life, and I pay attention to how often I was on the bus versus not,
Right.
I would say that there's probably a good, 70-30 split of me being on the bus growing up. A lot of places where it was, let's say, and I say 70-30 because of me going to school during the week.
Right.
So yes, I'm on a bus. I'm on SEPTA. But, anything on the weekends, most of the time I was in the car. So if I was with my mom, like if I was with my mom, especially by the time we were 8, 9, 10, 11 years old, like going to the market, we was walking.
Right.
Right? We walked down 52nd Street, we walked to 56th Street, we walked to 6th, like we would walk in a lot of cases. Or we would, we went to the market, we walked to the market.
And get a haircut.
I mean, we either get a hack or depending on how much we really had, we would carry all them bags home.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I remember, and this is a conversation we'll probably talk about later, but one of the most embarrassing things that for me was to go to the market and to walk home with what felt like 20 some odd bags.
Mm-hmm.
You get what I mean?
Right.
And you're carrying them. Like, we don't even have a cart.
Yeah.
And so walking down the street, walking them around the corner, you're stopping because you're tired and all that type of stuff. Like, that was kind of embarrassing for me.
Mm-hmm.
But that was the, it was the times.
That's what the times, yeah.
Because when I look back, we weren't the only ones doing it, but I just felt that way about myself.
Right.
Everybody else outside, playing basketball, looking at us. Now, here's what I would. No. I would say some of my friends did. They would. depending on the situation and depending if my mom's boyfriend was with us or not. So, but if it was just my mom, my brother, and I, no, that my friends will help.
That's nice.
Yeah, my friends will help. So, but yo, I want to know, did y'all hitchhike? Because, like Kafa said, when I first heard it, I'm like, nah.
Mm-hmm.
But now, as I'm thinking about it now, like, my mature mind is saying, well, Mom, did we do that?
No, why didn't we? We had all them dang bags.
I know, right? Right. But I can't. I'm trying to remember if we did. It seemed like my mom might have thrown that thumb out every once in a while.
Mm-hmm.
She might have.
Told y'all to sit right here, and she threw the thumb out, and it was like, oh, here go my friend. Come on, y'all.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's all about how you put a spin on it.
Yeah, so I'm going to have to go ask her.
All right.
I'm going to go ask her. But, tell us if you've ever hitchhiked.
Or would you pick up a hitchhiker?
Right. We talked about a whole lot in this episode.
Okay.
From hitchhiking to fashion to going to the market.
Mm-hmm. I think we should go to the market now.
Yeah, because we don't know what to have for dinner.
Don't have a clue.
So.
All right, y'all.
Thank y'all very much for tuning in. Talk to y'all. Peace.
This week's episode has come to an end. But the fun doesn't have to stop here. If you have any questions, suggestions, or feedback, head over right now to Twitter and Facebook and like, share, and get involved. Join us next time.